everyone, and welcome to today's Wild Rift video. In today's video, I'm going to be teaching you everything you need to know about one of the new items that got added into Wild Rift, Malignance. I'm going to be talking about the item stats, how it compares to other items in the game, when's the best time to build Malignance, the item passive, how it works on different champions and damage over time, and I'm going to be giving you 3 champions that got much stronger in this patch thanks to this new item. First, let's run through the basics of Malignance. In terms of item stats, this item gives ability power, magic penetration, maximum mana, and ability haste. This usually means that you want to lean this item more towards ability power mages. However, there are still some assassins that can build this item thanks to the passive. This item has very similar stats to items like Bandle's Fantasy and Luden's Echo, giving you all the same stats with a little bit of adjustments to numbers. And what this indicates is that you normally want to build this as a first item. That's really because of the maximum mana. In terms of mana giving stats over to champions, this is usually built more in the early game, since in the late game, you're not going to really make any use of any mana that you're going to be receiving from items. The mana during the early game allows you to use your abilities more often, helps you clear minion waves, and allows you to stay in team fights longer as well. But when it comes to the mid and the late game, the maximum mana isn't going to be much use for you. You might already have an item already, like Luden's Echo and Bandle's Fantasy. So when you build this item on top of more mana that you already have, that maximum mana is basically never going to be used, and it's going to be a wasted stat in the late game. And as I just mentioned, this usually means that Malignance, Bandle's Fantasy, and Luden's Echo are all not going to be in the same build. This is usually a decision that you make at the start of the game. Which mana item do I want to build first? And then you want to build more powerful items later on, like Death Cap and Infinity Orb, to increase your damage. Running through the passives, the first one we have is Scorn, where your ultimate gains ability haste. This is great for champions that want to use their ultimate more often throughout the game, and has a lot more playmaking potential with their ultimate as well. Champions like Annie and Ahri that want to use their ultimate as the engage tool, as that X factor in a team fight, that being put on less cooldown thanks to the Scorn passive means that it's going to be a great benefit when it gets into the mid and the late game. The other passive for Malignance is the most important one, which is Hate Frog. Damaging a champion with your ultimate burns the ground beneath them for 3 seconds, dealing magic damage equal to 60 plus 5% of your ability power per second, and also reducing their magic resist by 10. The burn radius from Hate Frog increases with damage, reaching a maximum radius at 800 damage. This passive is really the defining factor of this item and what makes it so strong on some champions. If your champion has a lockdown with their ultimate, this means that they're going to stay in this Hate Frog pool, taking damage over time and also reducing their magic resist, which means that your other abilities and your other champions' abilities will be able to deal more damage. You might be wondering, how does this passive work with damage over time? Well, it doesn't work with every tick from damage over time. Say, for example, Sway. It will only happen every 3 seconds. So if you stay on a champion with Swain's ultimate for 3 seconds, the previous pool will despawn and a new pool will spawn at the new champion location. This means that timing is very crucial for champions like Swain and even Fiddlesticks, making sure that you try and trap the champion in that one spot to try and help with your other abilities doing damage with the reduced magic resist, but also meaning that they take more damage as well at the same time. However, if a new champion comes into the fray or you hit multiple champions with your ultimate at the same time, this will summon multiple pools underneath them and will actually stack on top of each other. So if 2 champions are stacking on top of each other and you use an ultimate that has great lockdown, that will summon 2 pools underneath them, reducing their magic resist and dealing double the amount of damage with Malignance passive. Now let's talk about some champions that I feel like you should be building this item on every single game. These are champions that have the most benefit with the Malignance stats and also the passive. The first champion is Ahri. Now there's always a question with Ahri whether you should build Luden's Echo or Malignance. Luden's Echo is a lot better for if you need more wave clear or you need maybe that little bit of burst damage, but Malignance definitely changes Ahri's playstyle. Before Malignance got added into Wild Rift, a lot of Aries would sit in the bush like an assassin, wait for their prey, and use their charm and use all of their burst damage, and wait for their ultimate for an escape tool. However, with Malignance, you actually want to use your ultimate first. You stay in the backline, you use your ultimate to jump into the enemy's backline, and then when you hit an enemy champion with your ultimate, you can use your charm straight away. And this will guarantee that the enemy will stay in the pool for that 3 seconds, which means you can use your other abilities like your first ability and your second ability, and even your team can follow up afterwards. So for me, Malignance just offers a lot more playmaking potential for Ahri and gives her more freedom when it comes to her ultimate, when she can use it aggressively. You can still use it defensively if you need to escape. And another great interaction as well is that every single time you use ultimate, even if you hit the same enemy, it will summon a new pool. So if you have 3 stacks of your ultimate, if you use them all on the same champion, it will summon 3 pools. And then every single time you get a takedown, you get a new stack for your ultimate, which means you can use it again, summon another Malignance pool, and deal a crazy amount of damage. For the next champion, we're going to be talking about Annie. Now, there's no surprise that Annie has one of the most impactful ultimates in the game. A huge AoE tibbers that can hit onto multiple enemy champions and allows you to hit your other abilities with ease to do a crazy amount of damage. With Malignance on top of this, as I mentioned, if you hit multiple enemy champions that are close enough together, it will summon 2 Malignance pools below them, which means they'll be taking double the amount of damage. With this on top of your other abilities like your first and your second ability, and this aggressive assassin style that you want to play with Annie, trying to burst champions from 100 to 0, Malignance just amplifies that and gives Annie even more power when trying to burst down some of these champions. And the great thing with Annie as well is it doesn't actually change anything with her playstyle and how she wants to play. She still wants to try and push mid wave as quick as possible, stack her passive, look to try and roam, hide in bushes, and then use your ultimate to try and lock down enemy champions. So you want to rush Malignance as a first item, get this power spike as soon as possible, and look to roam around the map and get advantages for your team. And lastly, one of the best users of damage over time with Malignance is Swain. Now, I have to admit, this item can be a little tricky on Swain because, as I mentioned during the previous part of the video, damage over time doesn't work with every single tick. That pool will summon every 3 seconds. So you actually need to count in your head with Swain or wait until the pool comes down and then use your third ability as an example to pull the enemies towards that pool, meaning that you can use your second ability to try and deal more damage and slow enemies whilst they're in the pool, making it hard for them to escape. You also have your first ability on top of that can deal extra damage. But not a lot of people know that Swain actually has 2 parts to his ultimate. He has his first part, which transforms him into this demon wing, but then you can use your ultimate a second time, dealing a little bit of burst damage, and this actually counts as a new stack of Malignance. So again, playing Swain and playing around timings is very crucial because sometimes you'll be able to summon 2 pools at the same time and summon multiple pools with his ultimate. If you catch multiple enemies at the same time with your ultimate, if you time the second part of your ultimate very well, and you could do a crazy amount of burst damage with other items like Death Cap and Infinity Orb. And Malignance just means that he can make more plays during team fights and be more of a carry for his team. Other honorable mentions for champions that can use this item quite well, champions like Lysandra, who has a great lockdown with her ultimate. Fiddlesticks, again, it can be quite tricky like Swain, where you need to make sure the champions stay in the pool to make full use of the passive, but it still can work. And also Karma, with her reworked ultimate in Wild Rift, pulling champions together. It means that it's a great idea to build Malignance to make enemy champions stick in that pool to deal a crazy amount of damage. And that's it for today's video. Hopefully you learned a thing or two about the new item Malignance. I'm definitely going to be doing these sort of videos more often, where I talk next time about Bandle Fantasy and the whole question of what's better, Luden's Echo or Bandle's Fantasy, and when to build what item. So be sure to keep an eye out for that one. And as always, if you enjoy the content, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.